The search for justice begins here in this secluded desert just off US 93 outside of White Hills, Arizona. This is where her body was found. But who is she? That is the question everyone wants answered.
US 93 is a busy highway in northwest Arizona that connects drivers to Las Vegas. According to investigators, she was found about 2 weeks after her death on the side of the road by a couple hiking nearby.
I wanna know, where did we go wrong? Could we ever change this song into something beautiful, like the beauty that we've seen? I'm asking your lover, why do you have to be so mean?
US Highway 93. On an average day, about 2,000 drivers will pass along this route, and that doesn't count the additional 2,000 trucks that also manage to take that highway. Some might say that the drivers are blind to their surrounding. I mean, it has been dubbed one of the most dangerous highways of America. Outside of the many car crashes that take place, there has also been a series of bodies that have been discovered along that route. Along that route lies the Mohave Desert. In December of 1979, the Mohave Desert would become infamous for a Jane Doe who would be discovered in the area. Fast forward years later to 2016, and it seems that history would be repeating itself. However, unlike the unidentified Jane Doe remaining from 1979, the one found in 2016 would receive their identity back. But it wouldn't come easy. It would take years of hard work, but in the end, the years of hard work would pay off. This is the story of the Mohave Jane Doe. The tale of how DNA would once again prove to be law enforcement's most reliable asset, because once again it would help breathe life into a cold case. There are 86,400 seconds in one day, but it'll only take a fraction of a second to alter your entire life. The statistics and fatalities due to car accidents on US 93 is one subject. However, talking about the thing that lurks beneath is an entirely different thing. There's a dark and sinister side of this highway. The Mohave Desert has more than once become dumping grounds for criminal activity. If you were traveling along US 93 around the Mohave Desert area, the next large city up would be Las Vegas, and Las Vegas makes a major contribution to the criminal activity that spills over into US 93. Now, when dealing with homicide, the majority of the time, the Mohave Desert was used as a dumping ground, making it extremely difficult for detectives to track down who left the body. And this is why, because one, there is a major heat source in that desert, which plays a role in the destroying of forensic evidence. The second determining factor would be the fact that it's used as a dumping ground, so the initial crime scene, almost 99% of the time, will be elsewhere. So at this point, you're just basically forced to gather any and all evidence that you can manage to scrape up and then hit the streets. September 28th, 2016, a couple would be geocaching the area when they would run across what looked like to be a displaced object, but upon further inspection, it was far from it.
And the body of a teenage girl has been found on Highway 93 between Kingman and the Hoover Dam. Right now, the Mohave County Sheriff is asking for help identifying here.
When the authorities received notification of what had happened, they would reach the scene. But once there, they would quickly discover this wouldn't be easy. After all, being dumped in the Mohave Desert puts a big strain on the investigation to begin with. At this point, all they know is that they have a female from the ages of 12 to 17. The body was approximately 5'7", weighing between 110 and 130 pounds. She wore pink nail polish, as well as there being a Hollister t-shirt found nearby. Coroners would conclude that the body would have been there anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks. Inside of the Mohave Desert, the beating down sun will surely speed up decomposition, leaving the body in a mummified state. At this point, there is nothing left to do except wait on the autopsy report. The autopsy report would conclude that the cause of death would be undetermined. Due to advanced decomposition, they just couldn't figure out how it had happened. So at this point, we have a body dumped in the Mohave Desert with no identification, zero forms of identifying the victim. There is also an autopsy report that concludes that the cause of death is undetermined. This makes things extremely difficult. The victim had no tattoos, no identifiable marks. The only thing they know is that at one point in her life, she did wear braces. But if that isn't enough to add insult to injury, the face of the victim was unrecognizable. So at this point, there's nothing left to do but bring in a sketch artist to recreate what she might have looked like. And this is almost certainly a shot in the dark, because there's a 50-50 chance that the sketch artist could get it spot on, or they could be completely off. The sketch artist would work their magic and manage to come up with a sketch. This will be the first sketch released to the public. Could this sketch be what it takes to bring this victim to justice? Who knows? Only time will tell. The sketch hits the public and begins to circulate, and it does start to stir up a few rumors. After all, there are a lot of unidentified bodies. But there are also a lot of families out there searching for closure. The discovery of the Mohave Jane Doe would manage to cast spotlight on other cases in the surrounding areas. A list of those to be ruled out would be Aaliyah Bell, missing from South Carolina, Haley D. Bogle, missing from Arizona, Shariah Grant, missing from Texas, Jasmine Moody, missing from Michigan, Brittany Robinson, missing from Alabama, Lashaya Stein, missing from Colorado, Destiny Taylor, missing from Arizona, Phoenix Colding, missing from Missouri, as well as Victoria Williams, missing from New Jersey. Though these cases were ruled out, we keep an open heart, hoping that one day those victims receive justice as well. As time begins to elapse, it begins to become clear that they may never find a match for the Jane Doe. Who is the mysterious girl found in the Mohave Desert? Having exhausted all options with no one coming forward to claim the body, law enforcement would decide to bury the Jane Doe. Members of a local church as well as law enforcement would attend the funeral. It seems that the secret of her identity is about to be buried inside of a steel casket. But all hope is not lost yet. Detectives would bring in another forensic artist in order to do a second composite on the victim. But this time around, it would be a step up from an oil drawing. This would be an ultra-realistic 3D image of the lost. You may take the physical body, but the memories are mine to keep. Meaning, even though I'm not here physically, my memory will live on forever. And somewhere in someone else's memory, this girl exists. She is way more than just a Jane Doe. And if it takes the bones to cry out from the dirt in order for her to be identified, then so be it. It is said that even if no one is there to fight for the victim, the blood of the innocent will cry out from the dirt itself and scream justice. Fear not, my child, because humanity has been given the tools to find your identity in form of scientific evolution. Close your eyes and rest easy, angel, and let mankind handle the rest. Armed with a realistic sketch, it does little to help the investigation. The picture circulates, but only leads to dead ends. Somewhere behind that pretty brown face lies an identity, waiting to be recaptured. There's an old poem called Invictus, and it states, "Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever God there may be for my uncomfortable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of fate, my head is bloodied but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms in the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years fine shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, or how punishment charged the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." Take into accountability your own actions. Your actions are your own. And in this circumstance, it relays because they could have given up. When they buried her in the steel casket, that could have been the end of it. They could have stopped searching, but it wasn't the end. They would decide to exhume the body for further DNA testing, hoping genealogy reports will lead them to the victim's identity. Using DNA is almost like playing the lottery. You insert the DNA into the machine, pull the lever down, and hope for the best. Best case scenario, you hit the jackpot and you find a relative and successfully match the victim to their identity. Worst case scenario, you flop out. You don't match with anyone anywhere, and you're right back at point one. So the forensic team shoots their shot, inserts the DNA, and what do you know? They get a hit. Through genealogy, they are able to trace her roots and recover her identity. Her name is Kimberly Rayna Jones, a soft-spoken soul coming to you by way of San Bernardino, California.
I wanna know, where did we go wrong? Could we ever change this song into something beautiful, like the beauty that we've seen? I'm asking you, lover, why do you have to be so mean? And as we go, let's get close, don't fool me. You're the only one who sees right through me. And when I call you on my knees, I'm asking you, lover, we can do better than this. I know I can do better if we could only find a way. Tell me, darling, do you ever think of me that way? Just want you to hold me closer than ever. Let's get to the sad and lonely road to emptiness. And why don't you hold me? Please don't say never. And all I want is one more touch of your sweet caress, your sweet caress.
Finally, the mystery of the Mohave Jane Doe has been revealed. Kimberly Rayna Jones was her name. The circumstances surrounding her death are still unknown. As of now, it is still an active investigation into finding the culprit guilty of the murder. This is the last known photo taken of Kimberly Rayna Jones before her untimely death. In regards to her timeline, her family states that the last time that they saw her alive was October 1st of 2016. However, Kimberly was discovered in the Mojave Desert September 28th of 2016, leaving two possibilities. The family could be mistaken about the timeline, or withholding information. Kimberly went missing in 2016. She was only 18 years old. However, she wasn't reported missing until 2017. Be on the lookout for part 2 of this segment. We will be exploring the possibilities, doing a deep dive into the evidence that's available. And we will be getting to the bottom of this. Because even though Kimberly has been identified, the story behind the murder is still unknown. And that's a big piece to be missing. She deserves justice in every aspect. Rest in peace, Kimberly Rayna Jones. I have faith that you will receive justice soon.